Alright, this says to find the slope of the line that passes through the points. Okay, so the line is going to be going through points A and B. And the way you can find the slope is you want to figure out the rise over the run. So I'm going to choose 2 points on the line, points A and B, and I'm going to see how far up I have to go, and then how far over I have to go to get from one point to the next. And it looks like I have to go up by 3. I can count that. I have to go up by 1, 2, 3, and then so the slope is going to be 3 over, and then I have to go over by 1, so the slope is going to be 3 over 1. There's actually a simpler way to write that. It's just 3, the number 3. So the slope of that line is 3. Next, I take a look at the line and it goes through A and B, and I have to figure out what the slope is. As I read from the left to the right, I can see that this line goes downward, so I know that my slope is going to be a negative number, so I'll write the negative sign right now. Slope equals negative. Then I just need to figure out what the rise and the run are, so I'll go over and then down. Notice how I had to go down. That's why this line has a negative slope, and it looks like, remember that the slope is the rise over the run. For this one I'm going to figure out the run first. It looks like I had to go over by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So the run is 5. Put that in the denominator of the fraction. And then I had to go down by 1, 2. So I'll put that right there. And my slope for that line is negative 2/5. Next line goes through A and B. Alright, so to get from point A to point B, I just have to go 4 boxes to the right. And I don't have to go up or down at all. My line's completely flat. It's not steep, it doesn't slope at all. My slope for this line is 0 because it doesn't go up over the run, which is 4. But if you have 0 over another number, there's a simpler way to write that. It's just 0. So the slope of this line is 0, and we can see that because it's flat, it doesn't have any slope at all. There's no hill, no incline, or anything. Alright. Tell whether the lines through the given points are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So the first one we did in class, I'll quickly graph it again. So let's figure out first what line 1 looks like. Line 1 is at negative 1, 2, so I'll go back by 1 and then up by 2. So there's a point right there. And then I'll go over by 2 and up by 3, over by 2 and up by 3, so right over to here. And then I'll draw the line that goes through those 2 points. And I want to figure out what the slope is, and it looks like to get from this point to the other point that I had to go up and then over, and it looks like the slope for that first one, the slope is equal to, the rise was 1 and the run was 3, so the slope is 1/3. Now I'll graph the other line. Line 2, one point is at 0, 0, and the other point is at 3, 1, so over 1, 2, 3, and up by 1. There's a line that goes through those 2 points. And it looks like the slope it goes up by 1 and over by 3. So once again, the slope is 1/3 for these. So same slope, that means that these are parallel lines. So parallel lines. Running out of room there. Alright, for the next one, let's graph these. So I have 0, 1, so over by 0 and up by 1, so it's going to be right here. And then over by 1 and up by 3, so over by 1 and up by 3, so that's going to be up here. Draw my line through there. And it looks like I had to go up by 1, 2, and over by 1. So the slope for this one is going to be equal to a rise of 2 over 1. And that's the same as 2, so the slope for this is 2. And let's graph the other line. And the other line, let's see here, has a point 4, negative 1, so over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down 1. So there's 1 point right there. And then the other one is over by 5 and up by 2, so over by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up by 2. So on 2, right there, and so then we get a line going through those. Whoops, a little off. And then we can see, okay, what is the slope right here? So I had to go up by 1, 2, 3, and then over by 1. So it looks like the slope for this line, slope for this one is equal to 3 over 1. So the slopes are different, so these are not parallel lines. They don't look perpendicular either. They don't look like they would cross at 90-degree angles. So these are neither parallel nor perpendicular. There. All right, next, for this graph right here, so negative 5, 0, so back by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. There's our point right there. And then back by 3 and down by 2, so 1, 2, 3, then down by 2, so right about there. Then we get a line going through there. Whoops, a little off again. So I can see that this has a negative slope, because as I read from the left to the right, it goes down. And just to see how much the slope is, let's see, it looks like I had to go down by 2 and then over by 2. So I can tell that the slope is negative, because it goes down from the left to the right. And then the rise was 2, and the run was 2. And that fraction, 2 over 2, could actually be simplified, and it can be 1 over 1. It's negative 1 over 1. And you could actually simplify that even more. You could just write negative 1 for that slope if you wanted to. Negative 1. So there's the slope for that first one. Then next, we're going to graph line 2. So it has 1 point at negative 2, 2, so back by 2 and up by 2, and then another one at 0, 4, so up by 4, so right up here. So draw a line through those 2 points, and it looks like for this one I had to go up by 2 and then over by 2. And so that means that the slope is going to be 2 over 2. And another way to write that is just 1 over 1. Notice how this slope is the opposite sign of the line 1 slope, and that the fractions, if you were to turn them upside down and get the reciprocal, it would be the same thing. So because of that, these are perpendicular lines. So I'll write perpendicular, perpendicular. Oops, ran out of space. Hopefully you had more space on your paper. All right, graph the line that's parallel to AB that passes through point P. So I'm just going to take a look at what the slopes are for the lines. So I see from point A, from point A to point B, I have to go up by 1, 2, and then over by 1, 2, 3. So that means that the slope is 2 over 3, 2/3. And so for any line that's parallel to that, I'm also going to have to go up 2 and over 3. So I'll start at point P, and I will go up 2 over 3. And then I can see where the other point is. Then I just draw a line that goes through that and back the other way, like that. So there's the parallel line that goes through point P. All right, for the next one, I'll take a look at points A and B, and it looks like I have to go to the right by 2 and then down by 2. So that means the slope is negative 2 over 2, which is the same as negative 1. So this parallel line would have to have the same slope. So I'll go over 2 and down 2 right here. Then I'll draw in the line. The arrows on it. There's a parallel line that goes to the point P. All right, for the next one, it looks like to get from A to B, I have to go up by 2 and then over by 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like the slope for the green line would be rise over run, so 2 over 4. That's actually the same as 1/2 if you want to write 1/2. And then for a point that goes through P, I would have to go up by 2 and over by 4. So I could either go this way, could either go up by 2 and then over by 4. It kind of goes off the screen a little bit. Oh, it changed slides on me. Go back. All right. So I could either go up by 2 and then over by 4, up by 2 and then over by 4, or I could just go back by 4 and down by 2. Notice that it would be the same line that I would have either way. So that's what the line would look like. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. All right, now for perpendicular. The slopes are a little bit different for perpendicular lines. So I look at this one and I see that I have to go over by 1 and up by 3. So the slope of the green line is rise over run, so 3 over 1. Now I want to make a line that is perpendicular to that, so my slope for the other line is going to be the opposite sign, so it'll be negative, and it'll be the reciprocal, so it'll be negative 1 over 3. So mine's going to have a rise of 1 and a run of 3, so this one's going to go over by 3, and then since it's a negative, it's going to go down by 1, and so there's going to be the line that goes through those points. There's the perpendicular line right there. For the next one, I have over 2, down 2. That's a negative slope, so my slope is negative 2 over 2. That means that the perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite sign. It will be positive, and then I'll flip the fraction around, get the reciprocal. Actually, it's the same thing because both of the numbers are 2. And so the slope for this line is going to be 2 over 2. So I'll start at P, and I'll go up by 2, and then over by 2 right there. Or I could have gone back by 2 and down by 2. And notice how it does look like a perpendicular line. It looks like it makes a right angle with the line that was there when we started. For the next one, I get over 2, down 4. This has a slope of negative 4 over 2. That means the slope of my other line, my perpendicular line, is going to be positive, opposite sign, and then reciprocal, so flip that fraction over, 2 over 4, which is actually the same as 1/2. You could also write that. So I'm going to start with 2, and then I'm going to go up by 2 and over by 4. That looks like it would take me off of the board. I'll try and do it. I'll go and then over. Yeah, it went completely off the screen. So I'm going to go backwards instead. I'll go back by 4 and then down by 2. And then I'll use that to guide me right there. And then they also look like perpendicular lines. The original black line that I had, and then the red one that I just drew in, perpendicular.